Alright, first things first. Let's talk height. Niko stands at a solid 6 feet 1 inch, which might make him the tallest guy at the bar in Liberty City. In Serbia, the average male height is around 5 feet 11 inches. So yeah, Niko's got that extra couple of inches that might have him feeling like the basketball player of the group. But hold up. Just because he's tall doesn't mean he's out here dunking on everyone. A lean build isn't just a gamer aesthetic. It's actually pretty common among Serbian men who prioritize fitness and sports. Imagine a group of Serbian dudes hitting the gym, and there's Niko, doing those push-ups like it's a scene straight out of an action movie. Now, let's not forget the war veteran angle. Niko's backstory is rooted in the Yugoslav wars, which means he's got some serious baggage to unpack. And when we think about what a Serbian war veteran from that era would look like, we're talking about someone who's probably seen some stuff. A combat veteran might be more muscular and rugged due to the physical demands of surviving war. Think biceps from carrying gear and a six-pack earned through sheer adrenaline. You know, the kind of dude who probably has a How to Survive the Apocalypse guide stashed under his bed. Research shows that the physical effects of combat can really transform a person. Chronic stress can lead to muscle tension and a whole lot of toughness. So yeah, a veteran would likely have a body that tells stories of hard days and even tougher nights. Imagine Niko bulked up from all those intense life-or-death situations. But he'd also carry emotional scars, which can be just as heavy as any dumbbell. Studies on PTSD show that many veterans grapple with mental health issues long after the physical battles are over. Niko's character encapsulates this struggle. He's a mix of resilience and vulnerability, walking that fine line between strength and sensitivity, which is something that resonates with many who've faced similar experiences. He's got that thick Eastern European accent that adds a dash of authenticity, but let's be real, it's not the only thing that makes him relatable. Many Serbian war veterans speak with a mix of bravado and humility, shaped by the crazy life they've lived. And while Niko's accent might be a bit exaggerated, it does hint at the rich cultural identity found in the Balkans. It's like every line he says is seasoned with a history that many veterans share, connecting them through a common narrative of hardship and hope. But there's more. Niko's backstory is laced with themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the search for a better life. This mirrors the experiences of many veterans who fought not just for their country, but for their families and futures. Imagine coming back from a conflict only to find that the world has changed while you were gone. Talk about a plot twist. Studies in psychology highlight how veterans often struggle with reintegrating into society, a theme that Niko embodies perfectly. His quest for a fresh start is not just a personal journey, it's a universal struggle that many can relate to. Now his looks. He's got that classic leather jacket vibe going on. Think of it as a staple piece for anyone looking to exude a certain level of coolness, while also giving off those "I'm not to be messed with" vibes. In the 2000s, leather jackets were all the rage, especially in urban areas. They were synonymous with rebellion and toughness, making them a go-to for many young guys in Serbia and beyond. Now, let's zoom in on the specifics. Niko's jacket is a bit on the bulky side, giving him that rugged look. This style was actually pretty common among Serbian men at the time, especially those influenced by Western fashion trends. Rock stars, movie icons, and even local tough guys all sported similar looks, making it a fitting choice for a character like Niko. However, the jacket's sheen and styling might feel a little too polished for the everyday Serbian of the era. It's like Rockstar took a little creative liberty to give him that hero aesthetic, which is cool but not exactly a perfect reflection of reality. When it comes to Niko's casual wear, he often sports hoodies and t-shirts underneath his jacket, which is super relatable. This layered look is practical and gives off a laid-back vibe. In the early 2000s, hoodies became increasingly popular worldwide, including Serbia, thanks to the rise of streetwear culture. However, Niko's choice of colors, dark and muted tones, fits the serious tone of his character and the gritty environment he inhabits. This color palette mirrors what many guys in Serbia would wear during that time, often opting for darker shades to reflect the turbulent atmosphere of the region. Niko usually wears dark jeans, which is another classic choice. Jeans have always been a staple in Serbian fashion, especially in the post-war era when Western influences started trickling back into the culture. However, the fit of his jeans, slim but not overly tight, wasn't universally representative. In the 2000s, the trend leaned more toward baggy jeans, so Niko's style might feel a bit ahead of its time for some. Now, let's talk hairstyles. Niko sports a short, somewhat messy cut that fits his rugged persona. This hairstyle was actually pretty common among Serbian men in the early 2000s. It's low maintenance and practical, which makes sense for someone like Niko who's always on the move. Short hairstyles were especially popular among the older generations and veterans, likely due to the military influence from the Yugoslav wars. Many men coming back from combat opted for simpler cuts, not wanting to deal with the hassle of long hair. But the slight undercut that Niko has isn't something you'd typically associate with the average Serbian guy of that era. The undercut trend really took off globally in the 2010s, so it's safe to say Rockstar borrowed a bit from modern trends to give Niko that edgy look. This choice gives him a more contemporary feel, which might resonate with younger players, but feels a bit out of place for the older crowd or veterans from the 90s. Niko's body language. The guy walks with a swagger that screams, "I've been through hell and back." You can tell he's confident but carries the weight of his past on his shoulders. This isn't just a character quirk. It's a reflection of the reality many Serbian men, especially those who've experienced conflict, live with. After the Yugoslav wars, many guys adopted a tough demeanor as a defense mechanism, and Niko nails that vibe perfectly. He's got that mix of toughness and wariness, always scanning his surroundings like he's ready for whatever life throws at him. You can feel the survival instinct in every step he takes. Now, let's get into Niko's communication style. This dude is direct. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just straight talk. In Serbian culture, being straightforward is not only appreciated, it's expected. Niko's confrontational banter and unfiltered honesty feel incredibly authentic. When he's mad, you know it. When he's sad, it hits hard. This guy doesn't shy away from expressing his emotions, which is crucial for understanding his character. It's like he wears his heart on his sleeve, a reflection of many Serbian men who've seen tough times and learned to speak their minds. But here's where it gets really interesting. Niko's humor. His use of sarcasm and dark jokes isn't just for laughs. It's a coping mechanism for someone who's been through a lot. This is where Rockstar shines because this kind of humor is woven into the fabric of Serbian culture. It's a way to deal with pain, loss, and the absurdity of life. Niko's humor might be rough around the edges, but that's exactly how many veterans handle their trauma. It's gritty, it's real, and it adds depth to his character that's often missing in video games. Also, dude's aggressive, and that aggression is part of what makes him compelling. He doesn't just sit back and take it, he pushes back. But here's the kicker. While many Serbian men are known for their toughness, not all conflicts are handled with fists. Niko's penchant for getting physical can come off as a bit one-dimensional. Sure, it makes for an exciting game, but it misses the nuance of how real people navigate conflicts. Many Serbian guys, especially older generations and veterans, often prefer to resolve issues through dialogue rather than escalation. Niko's way might be entertaining, but it doesn't fully capture the range of responses you'd find in real-life situations. And let's not overlook the emotional depth of Niko's character. He often grapples with feelings of loss and betrayal, which resonate with many veterans. However, he also shows a vulnerability that's sometimes more pronounced than what you'd expect from a hardened war vet. While emotional expression is important, there's a cultural aspect at play here. Many Serbian men, especially those who've lived through war, often mask their feelings as a form of protection. Niko's openness might not fully align with the stoicism that's traditionally valued among older Serbian men. So while he's relatable and complex, he also embodies a level of emotional vulnerability that might not be as common in real-life veterans. Now PTSD. So, post-traumatic stress disorder is not just a fancy term for feeling stressed out after a rough day. It's a legit mental health condition that hits hard after someone goes through a traumatic experience. Think war, assaults, or serious accidents. We're talking flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, and those unwanted thoughts that just won't quit. It's like your brain gets stuck on a bad playlist, and you can't hit skip. Now, when you look at Niko, you can tell he's dealing with some serious demons from his time in the Yugoslav wars. Dude's got these flashbacks and all this baggage that he can't shake off. This portrayal is spot on for a lot of veterans. When they come home, those war memories can follow them like a shadow. Niko's nightmares and emotional roller coasters are all too real and hit hard for many who have been through the same kind of trauma. What really stands out is how Niko's PTSD messes with his relationships. He's constantly pushing people away, and it's painful to watch. This is the reality for many veterans. Trust issues and intimacy problems become part of the deal. You can see it in how he interacts with his friends and love interests. He's conflicted, and that's super relatable for anyone who's been through a rough patch. When you've seen some crazy stuff, it can feel like no one really gets you, and you start to isolate yourself. But let's keep it real. While Niko's struggles are relatable, some of it feels a bit over the top. The game has him acting out in violent ways, which isn't the only reaction people have to trauma. Not every veteran goes into beast mode after a bad experience. Many retreat into themselves, feeling anxious or depressed. So while Niko's aggression makes for some epic gameplay, it doesn't cover the full range of how real-life vets cope with their trauma. And here's where it gets a bit sciencey. PTSD is influenced by all kinds of factors: genetics, personal history, and of course, the nature of the trauma itself. Niko's got a troubled past, no doubt, but how he handles his mental state doesn't explore everything that's out there. Support systems matter too. Many veterans find healing through therapy and community, but Niko's pretty much flying solo. This isolation is a real struggle for many, but it doesn't have to be the only way. Highlighting the importance of support could have added a layer of hope to his character. Speaking of therapy, let's be honest. Niko doesn't really seek help. It's time to talk about Niko's money problems. Dude arrives in Liberty City with basically nothing but a dream and a suitcase full of baggage. His financial status is a big deal throughout the game, and honestly, it reflects a harsh reality. After the Yugoslav wars, many Serbians found themselves in dire financial straits. The economy was in shambles, and people were struggling to find work. In fact, after the war, unemployment rates in Serbia skyrocketed, with estimates reaching as high as 30%. So, when Niko hops on that boat to the US, it's not just a wild ride, it's a last-ditch effort for a better life. Now, let's talk about why so many Serbians decided to migrate during that time. The 1990s were a mess in the Balkans. With the wars, economic collapse, and political instability, many felt they had no choice but to pack up and leave. The United States, with its promise of opportunity, was a prime destination. It's estimated that over 200,000 Serbians moved to the US in the 1990s. Niko is basically a walking representation of this migration wave. He's not just looking for money. He's trying to escape a life filled with violence and poverty. As for Niko's job prospects, he's all about the hustle. He bounces from low-wage jobs to crime, which isn't too far from the truth for many immigrants. When they arrive in a new country, it's often hard to find stable, well-paying jobs, especially if there's a language barrier or lack of recognition for their skills. Niko takes on a range of jobs, from cab driving to working for mobsters, which mirrors the reality of many immigrants who often have to take whatever work they can get just to survive. Another layer to consider is Niko's attitude toward money. He's got this get-rich-quick mentality, which is influenced by his past and the need to escape poverty. In the game, he often talks about the importance of money and how it can provide freedom. This attitude is relatable for many people who've come from tough economic backgrounds. In Serbia, the financial situation post-war was grim, leading many to prioritize survival over everything else. Niko's combat skills. This dude doesn't mess around. He's got a mix of street brawling and what looks like some Krav Maga vibes going on. If you've seen him throw down in Liberty City, you know he's all about getting the job done with quick efficiency. Krav Maga is all about real-world self-defense, and that fits Niko's character to a T. Now, even though Krav Maga is an Israeli martial art, it shares some principles with Serbian martial arts. Serbia's got a rich combat history that includes styles like Sambo and Judo, which focus on grappling and takedowns. Niko's ability to adapt to whatever fight he's in totally reflects the versatility you'd see in Serbian training, where the motto is to be ready for anything. When Niko faces off against a group of goons, that's where his fighting style really shines. He uses quick strikes, efficient movements, and even some ground fighting. You can see those Krav Maga principles in action, defending against multiple attackers and using the environment to his advantage. In real life, Serbian soldiers are trained in hand-to-hand combat, so Niko's style is somewhat accurate, even if it's a bit exaggerated for the game. And let's not forget the mental side of Niko's fights. He's not just swinging punches, he's also dealing with some serious inner demons. After all the analysis, I'm gonna give him 9 out of 10 for accuracy. Rockstar did an amazing job. Without minor mistakes, he he would have been perfect 10, but still great work. Subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying these type of videos. I'm gonna see you in the next one.